You're listening to Coffee and Sports from Wire to Wire Sports Network on the National Streaming Sports Roku channel.
Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong, don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, happy Thursday, sir.
Happy Thursday, partner, and to everybody out there listening.
Sometimes the day is just...
I get it. I'm with you 100%. I was going to hesitate for a second.
Mo, interesting thing popped up yesterday. The Cleveland Browns general manager was asked about the future of Deshaun Watson with the Cleveland Browns. And Mo, for the first time from anybody within that organization, there was a waiver. There was a hint of hesitation. He said, we will not be talking about that right now. We are going to evaluate his place with the team at a later time. Okay. All right. First, Mo, it's the first time that someone in that organization has been asked, is Deshaun Watson your starting quarterback? And they've said anything but yes. So obviously, now he did go on to clarify that any player who has a season-ending injury, there's a certain comeback period. You never know how they're going to progress. Like, he walked it back a little bit when he was pressed, but this is the first crack, Mo, that we have seen in the armor with the Cleveland Browns as far as there not being a definitive, yes, Deshaun Watson is our starting quarterback, period. Let's move forward. We now have a discussion. Well, we'll see. We'll see where we are. Now, obviously, Mo, you and I have talked about this before. It doesn't matter what you want or don't want to do with him. You're stuck with him because you can't trade him. You really can't release him yet because of the impact it's going to have in dead money on the salary cap. So whether he's healthy or not, he's going to be on your team next season, Mo. The only question is he going to be your starting quarterback, or is he going to be the most ridiculously highest paid backup quarterback in the history of the NFL? In my mind, those are the only two questions that we're asking right now.
And you and I also discussed the fact, and this is before him being injured, that because of his play, was he headed towards being the most expensive backup quarterback in NFL history anyway? I actually think the fact that he was injured, and I believe it's an ACL, which it's one of those kind of injuries that he's not going to start the season anyway. He might not be ready to go till week 6, 7, or 8 or somewhere in there.
It's his Achilles.
Okay, well, still, that's going to impact his mobility. So
What mobility?
The little mobility that he displayed prior to being injured. But I guess the point is that this kind of gives them an opportunity. They have to go out and get a quarterback. Flat out, they have to go out and get a quarterback. And the fact that they're not definitive of if he's going to be the starter or not, and they're using the injury as well. There's going to be a recovery period and all that, rehab. I understand all of those things, which means for at least the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season next year, he won't be playing. The new starting quarterback will be in place. If he plays well, what you're not going to do is go, well, Deshaun's ready now. So, no, he's going to be like, Deshaun knows the team's playing well, and he just wants the best for the team. And they'll say all the right things, not to mention you pointed out they can't let him go because of all the dead cap money that would be on their cap. So there's no divorce coming. They're stuck with him in one way or the other. I'm with you. He's going to be the most expensive backup quarterback. It'll be one of those questions that they ask, who's the most expensive backup quarterback ever? That guy.
Mo, if their salary cap situation was favorable, it is an issue with Deshaun Watson. They don't even have a favorable salary cap situation currently heading into next season. Going into 2025, Watson's cap hit is $72.9 million. That's for 25 and 26. His dead cap charges are $172.8 million in 2025 and $99.8 million in 2026. That's what they're looking at right now. He is not going anywhere for the next 2 years. They have to keep him this year, Mo, for next year, Mo, because they can't take $172.8 million dead cap hit if they were to release him next season. So he's not going anywhere in 2025. I'm not saying he's going to be the starting quarterback, but he's not going anywhere in 2025. And I would even argue they're not going to release him in 2026 because they're not going to take a $99.8 million hit either. So he's going to be in Cleveland for the next 2 seasons, taking a $73 million cap hit both years, hand strapping your team, and the ability for your team to do anything else aside from draft a rookie quarterback. Damn, Mo. What were they thinking?
The general manager and the owner are accountable for this. This conversation was had way back when this deal was first announced, and people were like, what?
But they thought he was good. They thought he was good.
But this goes to show you, they thought he was good, which, look, I guess you try to separate the player from the man, but they knew all the stuff that they knew about the man, and they still were like, you know what? If he's really good, we can deal with the other stuff. And he hasn't been really good. He hasn't been really good at all. He hasn't been good. He's just been a guy. Like, we're talking about him becoming the most expensive backup quarterback. He played like a backup quarterback when he played. He was just a guy. And they've set their franchise up for failure because they've got this huge anchor wrapped around their franchise, and it's not going anywhere.
Mo, this may come as a shock to you, but NFL executives think the Cowboys messed up with the trade of Jonathan Mingo.
Really? Yeah. Really? Somebody thinks they might have got something wrong this year? Really? Well, welcome to the team.
Jesse Palmer was doing his radio rounds yesterday, and he was talking about how he talked to numerous NFL front office executives for different teams in both the AFC and the NFC. And the unanimous consent around the league is that the Giants fumbled it with the trade for Jonathan Mingo. Tell us something we don't know already. We all knew it when it was announced that they fumbled it, Mo.
Look, I said it before. Well, you know what? And maybe Jerry's trying to be a visionary, going like, you know what? This guy's gonna be part of our future. Maybe he will be. I don't want to say that the young man's career is done. He's
only 23. 23.
Right, he's 23, and coming into the draft. He was projected, and a lot of people thought he had a lot of talent. So, could he turn it around? Sure. It's not impossible, but I just think that we're living in this season, and everything about what they're doing this year. This move has a zero impact on this season. That's my whole point. Like, what are you doing? You need to go out and get an offensive lineman. Go out and get some linebackers. They might have the worst linebacking core in football.
They might have the worst running back room in football.
Well, yeah, it's pretty close. If it's not the worst running back, but to be fair, the offensive line not very good. If they had got Derrick Henry with that offensive line, he's not having the year. He's not having the year he's having now.
He would be better than what they got, though. Remember, though, he wasn't a good fit. That's why they didn't go get him. Because Dallas has, Mo, this is what it is. Dallas has a little bit of that same thing that Carolina has. Dallas looked at it and said, okay, we need a running back. We don't got one. We ain't got nothing coming down the pipeline. But we could go spend some money on Derrick Henry. And then they said, oh, but he doesn't fit our system. So pass. Really? Make him fit.
Right. Look what Baltimore did. They're an RPO team, and they adjusted some of their system and plays that fit his skill set because he's a one-cut downhill running back. And they did that. But then they're trying to win football games. I don't really know what Dallas is doing. I do know, though, look, if you're an anti-Cowboy fan, you are enjoying this season on so many levels.
It's a good year for the anti-Cowboy fans.
It's a really good year.
Mo, Dak Prescott is seeking a second opinion on his hamstring injury. He apparently has a partially torn hamstring. They are saying 4 to 6 weeks recovery time, and he is seeking a second opinion. Why? To do what? To come back and lose sooner? Like, I get it, Mo. But come on, Dak. Let's take a look at what we got going on here. All right, because you're in a nice little spot. Let's be honest. You're in a nice little spot here. Because what's gonna happen? Let's say you miss 6 games. Okay, the Cowboys have played 7 or 8 games right now. You miss 6 games. You might come back with 2 or 3 games left to play, if they even bring you back at that point. So you're in a nice little spot right now where the summary at the end of the season, Mo, is, well, the Cowboys got off to an uneven start, 3-4, 3-5, whatever it is. Then Dak got hurt, and then they probably could have turned it around. The schedule was going to soften up a little bit, but then Dak missed the rest of the season, and once you lose the starting quarterback, Mo, and I don't care. Don't talk about Flacco. Don't talk about the Steelers. No. Once you lose your starting quarterback, it's over.
Right.
And that's basically what happened. It's just one of those unfortunate things. And look that's just all the blame falling off Dak's shoulders right there, Mo. I say, listen, if you're not 100% healthy, do not put yourself in that train wreck. Your line can't protect you. You don't have the weapons on the offensive side. You have 0 running game. Even bad defenses are putting 10 guys in the box against the Dallas Cowboys because they know the Dallas Cowboys can't run the football, Mo. Bad defenses are saying, we'll take our chances because we know you can't run it. And Dak can barely move around back there because he has no time to throw the football. So try it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
It ain't good.
And teams are looking at CeeDee Lamb and saying, we'll just double and bracket him
Right, because they got no one else.
That's the one guy that can beat man-to-man coverage consistently. We're not worried about anybody else, and it shows. They're not one-dimensional. They're not anything offensively. The offensive line is in shambles. If you're Dak Prescott, I get trying to be a competitor. You're better off to accepting that this is just a bad year, a lost year. Sit out, get healthy. I think in some ways you're sitting out might help the Cowboys draft status because really you got to get better some kind of way. You're going to need you're going to need draft assets, and you're going to need to bring in some legs that can alter that offensive line, the defensive line. Draft a running back. I know the position has been devalued, but there's still value, in my opinion, in drafting a running back, a playmaker, and they don't have that in that running back room. So I don't see the rush for Dak Prescott to come back.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys are 3-5. Their next 3 games are against the Eagles, the Texans, and the Commanders. Even with Dak Prescott, they easily could lose all 3 of those games. Without Dak Prescott, they're going to easily lose all 3 of those games. Now you go from being 3-5 to 3-8. Oh, there it is. That's the magic number. Once you get those 8 losses, Mo, you're not going to the playoffs. So I think Dallas is going to be at the magic number of 8. But even after that, yeah, you had the Giants and you had the Panthers in there, but you also have the Bengals, the Bucks, the Eagles, and the Commanders again. And I don't think you're going to beat all those teams. Maybe you beat the Bengals and the Bucks. You're not going to beat the Eagles, and you're not going to beat the Redskins again. So you're not going anywhere. You know what it's like. Let Jerry spin the story. Let Jerry talk about how Dak missed the rest of the season. Let Jerry talk about the injuries. Let Jerry do what he does best and just make up excuses and let him be your shield. Hopefully you get a good draft pick. Hopefully you end up with 3, 4, or 5 wins at the end of the year. You pick somewhere in the top 7 or top 8. Right. You get a nice offensive lineman. It's unfortunate that you gave up a really good draft pick to get Jonathan Mingo, but that ship has sailed. We can't do anything about that. But there's no point in that. And even if he comes back, I still think they're only going to win 4 or 5 or 6 games. So why risk it? Why put him out there to get injured further? It's not worth it to me, Mo. Just sit him, let him rest. If he's gonna miss 4 to 6 weeks, just call it. Just call it. Time of death, Mo. We're calling time of death. I got an answer for you. You asked me yesterday what DJ Moore said about walking off the field.
What did he say? I gotta know.
He addressed it, Mo. Apparently, he re-aggravated his ankle injury as he was cutting near the sideline. He said his ankle gave out, which caused him to step on the sideline. And then he figured, well, I'm out of bounds anyway, so I might as well go sit down.
I'm out of bounds and I'm hurt. So I get it. If he actually injured himself, I understand it. Although I don't know about, I'm already out of bounds. I get it. Man, but that's just a bad look. Like that's rough. But I'm glad that he at least bothered to address it.
Well, now I got to give you the quote because now I think we're giving him too much credit. He was asked about why he walked off the field, and his response was, "Tweak the ankle. I was coming back because I'd seen Caleb was scrambling. My ankle went in and out. I was already couldn't stop, so my momentum took me out of bounds, and then I just walked off. The noise, I hear it, seen it, really don't care. It is what it is."
Well, that's completely different. That's not a good look. And I mean, when you put it in that context, maybe he was better off not saying anything. Whoever the PR people are, they fumbled that one by having him say anything at all. Like I would rather it remain a mystery than him say what he just said. That's terrible.
That's really bad, Mo. That's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't really care.
I don't really care. Don't really
That
care.
they're season ticket holders. That's what they want to hear. I don't really care.
Mo, we talked about this yesterday. We have to revisit it today after what took place last night. The Warriors beat the Celtics.
Yeah, I knew we'd go there and have this conversation. And they did beat the Celtics, albeit Jaylen Brown did not play.
Fair.
And Golden State won. And again, I'm telling you, if you're going to rely on Buddy Hield being your second option, I'm not rooting. I just want to put it out there. This isn't me rooting against Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
But I am looking at that roster top to bottom, and I kind of get that feeling. I want to make a football reference. It feels a lot like the Steelers. I don't know how Tomlin does it. I'm looking at Steve Kerr going, how are you doing this? I get what Steph Curry can do, but everybody else is kind of like all over the map, with exception for Buddy Hield.
Buddy played 29 minutes last night, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. He was 6 of 11 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3-point land. He also had a block.
Now he's a defensive stopper too.
That's right.
No, but in all seriousness, Steve Kerr has those guys committed to playing defense. I'm just going to stick to what I believe. I don't think what we're seeing is sustainable. I get it. People are excited. They're off to a very fast start.
7-1.
If they hold on to this, we're talking about a team that's going to be a top 2 or 3 seed in the West, which means you're projecting Golden State to win, I'm going to say 53, 54 wins. Yeah, I don't see that. I'm not seeing it. But if it happens, Steph's going to win another MVP.
I told you yesterday, they're kicking off a very tough stretch on their schedule. They got the Cavs, the Thunder, the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, and the Clippers all coming up. Albeit the Clippers are not playing great basketball right now. But that stretch of Boston, Cleveland, OKC, the Mavericks, and the Grizzlies, that's a tough 5-game stretch right there. But they started off 1-0. So, yeah. Hey.
I mean, look. It's interesting. The Grizzlies are going to be a challenge for them. They just beat the brakes off the Lakers last night. It's going to be interesting. Like I want to see what they look like coming out on the other end of this stretch.
Don't we all? Let's take a look actually at the NBA standings. Mo, we talked about this the past couple of days. I want to make sure that we got to it today before we jumped into our football picks. Let's go through. We're going to take a look. We're not going to look at the middle of the league. We're going to take a look at the top of the league. We're going to take a look at the bottom of the league, Mo. And I just want you to give me, we're only not even 10 games in yet. You know, it's the first 8 or 9 games. Everyone's still kind of getting their feet wet, figuring out what it is and what it isn't. But let's look at the top and the bottom of each conference and kind of get a vibe of, is this real or is it not real? That's what we're going to go with. Real or not real. Let's start in the East with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Mo. They play the 7-1 Golden State Warriors tonight. The Cavaliers are undefeated, 9-0. They're looking for their 10th consecutive win to start off the season. Is this a real thing for Cleveland?
It's a real thing so long as they have an aggressive Darius Garland. What Donovan Mitchell's done, and I don't know if this was a collective situation with him and the coaching staff, but Donovan Mitchell, who's obviously their best player, has opted to take a step back and push Darius Garland out in front. And when Darius Garland is aggressive, it opens up everything for their offense. It gives them 2 all-stars on the floor. Darius Garland's been lights out the start of this season. And I think as long as they keep him out front, him being aggressive, Cleveland's already one of the better defensive teams in football or basketball, especially when you look at what Evan Mobley gives you and Jared Allen gives you in terms of rim protection. Mobley's a versatile defender that can guard multiple positions, and Allen is one of the better rim protectors in all the NBA. Like that duo alone, I think they give you a little bit over 20 rebounds a game and 35 plus points a game. So it's scary to think what they can be going forward. My only question about Cleveland is, do they have enough shooting? And I'm talking about their bench depth. Do they have enough shooting? But the starting five, as long as Darius Garland is aggressive, it's real.
Well, I know we're only 8 or 9 games into the NBA season, but when you take a look at the Eastern Conference as a whole, there's only 2 teams above 500 in the entire Eastern Conference right now, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics.
Right.
Every other team is 500 or below 500 right now. That's wild. That's wild right now. I get it. It's only 9 games, Mo, but we only got 2. I mean, if you take a look at the Western Conference real quick, we got 8, 9. 9 teams in the West are above 500. 2 in the East are above 500.
I would have never projected this. Remember, look, no one thought the Bucks would be this. They're 1-7 now?
That's where we're going next. The Bucks and the Sixers are 1-6.
Yeah. Who now the Sixers I could foresee. No Embiid, no Paul George. You put everything on Maxey. They're being bad. It's really just that the 3 best players haven't played together. But wow. That's crazy that it's just 2 teams above 500 in the East. That is crazy.
76ers. This is what we're going to see from them. Are they this bad?
No, I think that like I said, Embiid has been out. He hasn't played a single game yet. Paul George just came back. He's getting his legs under him. I think once they're whole, the Sixers are going to turn it around. I still think they're going to finish in the top, no worse than the top 5 in the East when it's all said and done. Once they're whole, the team that's more concerning is Milwaukee. They are whole. Yeah. They are whole, and they're 1-6. And I don't know what to say other than this discussion has been had over and over, and every year nothing changes. They're an old basketball team
and a slow basketball team.
And a slow basketball team. They have take Giannis off that team. They have 0 athleticism. They have no athletes, no quickness, no young legs. They have no long athletic perimeter wing defenders that can guard at a high level. No one has trouble scoring against the Milwaukee Bucks, and that's the problem. They can score, but they can't keep up with you because they can only play at a certain pace. I think what you're seeing from them is real. Do I think they'll miss the playoffs? No, I think they'll make the playoffs, but this isn't a title contender. This is a playoff contender, and that's not what was expected when you added Damian Lillard.
Mo, over in the West, the Suns, the Thunder, and the Warriors are all off to 7-1 starts. We've already talked about the Warriors. Let's talk about the Suns and the Thunder. Real or not real?
I have to admit, I'm really impressed with what Phoenix has done early in the season. I do think it matters that Booker, Beal, and Durant have been together through training camp. They've got more continuity going there, but more importantly, bring in Tyus Jones, a real point guard, putting everybody in their places, setting them up more for success in their system. That's been a big difference. I still think the Suns aren't a great defensive team, but when you've got that kind of offensive firepower, I think they're going to be a contender in the West. So I think what they're doing now, do I think they're going to have the best record in the West? No, but I think they're going to be top 5. So I'm going to say it's real. They're off to a fast start, but I'm going to say it's real.
And then, Mo, both LA teams are currently 4-4. Is it 500 territory for both LA teams this season, or are they going to separate and end up elsewhere?
So this is a tough one for me. I think I really did believe that the Lakers are going to win the Pacific Division because I think it's a weak division, and the fact that they're 4-4 doesn't really bother me early in the season because those losses aren't from really. I think they've got one division loss. I think they're going to still win that division. They're off to a slow start. They're bad. They've been bad on the road, but I also think that they need to address their bench. Their starting 5 is sound. What they're not getting is any production off their bench. What they need off their bench is another bucket getter, somebody that can create for themselves and others, and they don't have that right now. But I'm good with where they're at. Like they got the brakes made off them last night by the Grizzlies. By the way, Anthony Davis did not play. They gave him the night off. Maybe they shouldn't have. But because when you look at the Lakers, they have
Maybe that's how it was planned.
yeah, right. But because everything is built around AD and LeBron, I think they have this small margin for error. And when you take one of those guys off the floor or for a whole game, you put yourself behind the 8 ball. So I get it. They're trying to manage their minutes and back-to-backs and all that other kind of stuff. And LeBron played last night. I think they play again tonight, which means no, they play Friday. Never mind, I'm wrong. They play Friday, so I expect they'll both play on Friday. But yeah, I think the Lakers are going to be better than this. I don't think this is real. I think they'll be better when it's all said and done.
And the Clippers?
I'm actually amazed at how well the Clippers have competed. If you would have asked me what I thought they were going to be, I would have told you they'd be 1-6 or something like what Milwaukee has. They have overachieved. James Harden said he would be the old James Harden. I'll give him credit on this front. I said he could score 25 points a game. He's given them over 20 points a game. I think he's leading the league in assists. He can do that, but he's getting a lot of help from Norman Powell. Big Z's having a career year. The Clippers, if they can maintain what they're doing, and I think they can be a 500 team until Kawhi Leonard comes back, it'll be interesting to see what they are.
Well, how do you feel about the Clippers' new logo?
Yeah, I don't like it so much
because it looks like a cruise line.
Yeah, so I want to say Carnival real quick, and I'm not, and I'm not hating on Carnival. I like Carnival, but that's what it looks like. I'm like, it doesn't lie. I don't get that at all. That their marketing team got together and go, yeah, this reps our NBA team. Not at all.
I don't know how we went from the basketball behind the name, and then they kind of updated that and they put the basketball on top of the name, and they put like the LAC like in the little box formation. But it still had the basketball, and it still had the Clipper colors of the red and the blue. And then somehow the next idea, cruise ship. What?
and you know that Steve Ballmer is a hands-on kind of owner, right? That he's involved in every aspect. That means that Ballmer was presented this and he got fired up and said, yes, that's it. I want our fan base to think they're in a long cruise.
Jesus. All right, it's that time of the show. We're going to make our NFL picks, Mo. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are traveling to see Joe Flacco and the Indianapolis Colts. It's the 7-2 Bills. It's the 4-5 Colts. This is actually a really big game for Indianapolis. Indianapolis is still a fringe wild card team as we're coming out of the midway point of the season. If they get a victory here against Buffalo and get themselves back to 500, they really are firmly in the wild card discussion in the AFC. Unfortunately, Mo, this was a really, really bad team to have to get back to 500 against. We talk about it all the time. Joe Flacco is Joe Flacco. He's going to make some throws. I think they're going to move the ball a little bit, but I think the Buffalo defense is going to force a couple of turnovers. I think they're going to get to him. I think they're going to pressure him. I just think Buffalo is going to be too much for Indianapolis to handle. I will say this, though. After watching the Dolphins run all over the Bills last week, and I don't know if Jonathan Taylor is playing in this game or not because dude is always injured. But if Jonathan Taylor is playing in this game and the Colts can establish a running game early and Buffalo struggles against the run the way they have been, and specifically the way they did last week against the Dolphins, there might be a sliver of hope. There might be a sliver of hope because Taylor is a good back, and when he gets going, he can take over a game. That would be the only way I see Indy winning this game, would be if they literally ran the ball down Buffalo's throat. My issue, though, Mo, is I don't think the defense can stop Josh Allen on the other side. So even if the Colts put up 24 or 28 points, I don't think they can stop Buffalo from putting up 31 or 35 points. So I don't see a path to victory here for the Colts. So I'm going Buffalo.
I'm going Buffalo as well. But you brought up a great point. The Bills haven't been that good against the run. If Jonathan Taylor does play, I think it'll be a good game. I still think the Bills will win, but if Jonathan Taylor plays, it not only will exploit the fact that they can't stop the run, it will give you a better version of Joe Flacco because he can feast off of play action. But like you said, I think Josh Allen and that offense are going to be able to do whatever they want. I think this is going to be a workmanlike win for Buffalo, but it's going to be a win.
If the Colts were to pick up a victory, they move back to 5-5. Depending on what the Texans do, if the Texans lose this week, they would only be one game out of the division. So it really, really is a big game for the Colts, but it's just one of those situations where it's a big game against the wrong type of team. If you're the Colts, you really would have liked to see a division game this week against the Titans or the Jaguars, but unfortunately, that is not the case. How about the Cincinnati Bengals heading into the Baltimore Ravens? I like this game a lot because, Mo, we're going to find out this weekend where the Bengals actually are. They're 4-5 right now, just like the Colts. They're potentially on the verge of pulling themselves back to 500, reestablishing themselves in the wild card picture. And if you're the Bengals, you beat the Ravens. Now you're at 500. You're one game behind the Ravens, and you're almost reestablishing yourself in your division as well, because depending on what the Steelers do, if the Steelers lose, you're a game and a half behind them, sitting at 500. It's a whole different conversation if Joe Burrow and the Bengals win this football game. If the Ravens win, doesn't matter how they do it. It could be ugly. It could be close. It doesn't matter. Now you're looking at a Bengals team that is 2 games under 500. You're looking at a Ravens team that is 7-3. It's a completely different conversation heading into Monday morning. There is so much pressure on the Cincinnati Bengals in this game to go to Baltimore and have to knock off the Baltimore Ravens. And I say all of that to say I'm taking Joe Burrow, baby, because I think Lamar is due for a stinker. I think he is. He's been getting all, and I'm probably going to be wrong here, Mo, and I usually get burned when I criticize Lamar, and it's not the playoffs, because we talked about this a couple of days ago. There is no one better than regular season Lamar Jackson. So I'm probably going to get burned here. He's probably going to go 4 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, 88 yards rushing, 215 through the air, perfect passer rating. He's probably going to notch another one of those. But I don't know, something about these games where Lamar feels pressure. And I think he's going to feel some pressure here because I think he's going to realize we can take the Bengals out essentially here. We win this game. We take care of business at home. And the Bengals are basically out of it at that point. They're 3 games behind us in the loss column. They're out of it. That's it. But if we lose to the Bengals here, they're right back in the thick of things. And that could be an issue later on down the road. I think the Bengals find a way to win.
You bring up some great points. I also believe you're right about Lamar feeling the pressure, because I think the Bengals will come out fast. They want to jump on top of them, be up 7-0, and make that Ravens offense maybe play out of sync and feel like they have to score.
And not run the ball as much.
Right. When you feel like you have to score, if you get down early, it kind of takes Derrick Henry out of things, and that's a big deal. And you put everything on Lamar's shoulders. You look, the Ravens defense hasn't been what it was the last couple of seasons, and that secondary, I feel like Joe Burrow can take full advantage of that secondary. I think the Cincinnati Bengals win a shootout.
Let's go, Mo. Let's go.
I actually think it's a shootout, and I think that favors Joe Burrow and company.
The New York Giants head to the Carolina Panthers for a 9:30 a.m. overseas game that ain't nobody getting up out of bed to watch. Not
Including
even
Giant fans.
Not even Giant or Panther fans.
Or Panther fans, the 4 or 5 Panther fans left. So no one's if you are a football fan to the 10th power, I think that would be a heavy lift to get up to watch that. Because you know what you're going to see. So in a game that nobody's going to watch, I know I'm not interested in watching it. I'm actually going to say the Giants win. I don't know, 10-3. It's going to be a stinker.
You know who's upset right now? Munich, Germany. Wondering what the hell they did to deserve this football game.
Right.
You know, and I don't know if they got a president or a czar. I don't know who runs Germany.
They got a chancellor.
Whoever it is, he's sitting there like, do they still hate us? Do they don't like us still, huh? Because we asked for American football. They said yes, and then they give us this.
Right. And so what are their fan base going to do? Like, you know what? We're okay with not seeing any more American football. Right. If this is what it looks like.
I'm going to go Giants as well. Again, the Giants have a top 10 defense. The Panthers don't have much.
They don't have a top 10 anything.
And they can't play Derek Carr every week. So
this is true.
So I'm going to go Giants. Danny Dimes gets his 3rd win of the season, and the Giants get a little bit further away from a good draft pick to potentially draft Danny's replacement.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Right. Love it.
The San Francisco 49ers head to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers. This is interesting, Mo. Both of them need to win this game.
It's a big game.
The Bucs need to get back to 500. The Niners need to not go below 500. This is a huge, as big of a game as you can have for the 10th game of the year for the Bucs and the 9th game of the year for the 49ers. This is it right here, because the Niners are looking at their division saying, what is happening? What is going on right now? This is not what it was supposed to be. The Cardinals are leading the division at 5-4. The Rams are 4-4. The Seahawks are 4-5, just behind the Niners. This is not what it was. The Niners, if the Niners lose this game, it's possible they're last place in their division coming out of this week. If the Seattle Seahawks can get back to 500. And Mo, that is not a conversation if I talked to you 11 weeks ago and said, hey, what are the odds coming out of game 9? The Niners are last place in their division. And your response would have been, well, what happened to Purdy? Did Purdy get hurt week 1? No, he's fine. And there's no way. There's no way. But here is where we are. I think that the fact that the game is in Tampa Bay makes a difference. I have to look at what Baker did last week with no weapons and found a way to score and compete against the Kansas City Chiefs. But at the same time, I just think the Niners are more talented. So I'm going to go San Francisco. But Mo, I have to say this. There's always something about Baker. He's got that swagger to him. And I know he always wants to win. I'm not saying that there's games where he has more swagger or less swagger. I'm not trying to imply that. But I'm saying that I could see a situation where the team feels like we got to get this one. After what we did last week and potentially letting a win against the Chiefs slip away, we got to get back to 500 at home this week. And if you're playing against that Baker that has that little bit of swagger, that's the Baker that takes a little more chance with the football. And that's the Baker where it looks like it's going to be a pick, but somehow it's caught. Like, if that's the Baker that shows up, I'm concerned for the Niners. But if it's not, I think the Niners win a close football game.
I think the key to this game defensively for the Niners is their front seven. If they can't get to Baker with 4 and they have to bring somebody else, this seemed like this game is queued up for a game where Baker Mayfield throws for over 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns because the Niners defense as a whole has not been very good. And the best thing that Bosa, and I wouldn't call it the best thing, the thing that's drawn the most attention that Bosa's done is wear a hat. He hadn't played well. And I just think that I think the Niners win, Chris, but I think it's a close game because I think Baker will play well. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think they find a way to win. This isn't going to be a Niners runaway victory. I think it's going to be a very close game, and I think the Niners are going to get by maybe a field goal, 20-17.
We talked last week about the Denver Broncos finding out that 5-3 is not the same 5-3 when you play the Baltimore Ravens, and I think we're going to see a repeat this week when the 5-4 Denver Broncos play the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, and they find out that our winning record isn't the same as their winning record, because I think the Chiefs are going to put it on them, much like it was put on them by the Baltimore Ravens. I take nothing away from what the Broncos are doing, Mo. I didn't think they were going to be 5-4. I thought they were going to be a dumpster fire.
Agreed.
But they're not going to win this game. I don't think they're going to be competitive in this game. I think this game is over midway through the second quarter. Maybe it's a one-score game at half, and the Chiefs start to roll away midway through the third quarter. But if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're looking at a Denver team that's playing higher than their skis. You just had the close win against the Bucs. You're trying to get to 9-0. I don't think the Chiefs are overlooking the Broncos. I don't think they are. I don't think they're looking towards Buffalo next week. I think this is just a Chiefs team that takes it one play at a time. And this is the issue. And I was listening to Nick Wright the other day, and he made a great point. He talked about how do you beat a team that never looks ahead? How do you beat a team where their entire focus is win the current play? And if you don't win the current play, we have to win the next play. But right now we're on the current play. And that is the mindset this team has been playing with the majority of the season. So if that's the mindset they're bringing into these games, you're going to need more than what the Denver Broncos have to beat them. I'm taking the Chiefs here, Mo, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close.
I'm taking the Chiefs also because I think that we often make these comparisons between Mahomes' Chiefs and Brady's Patriots. What Brady's Patriots did during their run was dominate their division. They dominated it. They literally cleaned up in their division and had themselves set up. Right. I'm sorry to bring up old memories.
Hey, but I will tell you this. Who does Brady have the most losses to? The Miami Dolphins. Thank you very much.
There you go, my friend. There you go. But I think they have that kind of mindset, much like those Patriots, where no, we're not looking past anybody. These division games are everything. We like to have things sewn up. I think the Broncos try to keep it competitive, but I think the ultimately Patrick Mahomes and company pull away. I am surprised by how well Denver's played, and I give them credit for that. But I think Kansas City's on a mission. I want to say historical. Like they're on a mission to do something that hasn't ever been done.
And listen, I'll give Buffalo Bill fan a little preview here. If the Bills win this week, which I think they're going to, and the Chiefs win this week, which I think they're going to, if you don't think the Chiefs aren't going to roll into Buffalo with a chance to put away the number 1 seed, essentially, and give the Buffalo Bills a little message heading into the playoffs, I think we are going to see the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs in Buffalo next week, because I think that is a game you are going to see the Kansas City Chiefs get up for more than they've gotten up so far this season, and they're already 8-0. So
right.
We'll see. Little preview. We had to talk about something else because the next game on the docket is the Falcons and the Saints, and the Falcons are going to destroy the Saints. So there wasn't really much to talk about there.
Unless they, I think you summed it up. Is Derek Carr playing?
It doesn't matter.
Well, no, I'm just saying if he does, then I like the Falcons.
The Patriots head to the Bears. Man, what a roller coaster ride the Bears have been this season. That being said, it's in Chicago. I don't like what the Patriots have on their roster. I think Drake May can be their future, but I'm going to go Chicago in a sloppy game.
I really think this is a big game for Chicago because they need to get over that hangover from losing from that Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got to get on the other side of that if they want to salvage their season. And I'm not knocking the Patriots. I feel about the Patriots, to me, like the Broncos, even though their records are different. Gerard Mayo has put out a very competitive team, if not, and they're not a talented team. You just can't walk in there and expect to win. I think Chicago finds a way to get a win. Look, their defense needs to get back to their identity, be what they were going back prior to the Redskin game, and I think they will. The offensive line has been a struggle up and down, but when they look good, it's with Caleb Williams throwing short, quick passes, and I think they've got to get back to doing that as well.
The 6-2 Steelers visit the 7-2 Washington Commanders. I'm going to go Steelers here. I think it was a big win last week for Washington. I think that a lot of times in the NFL, you see a letdown after a big win. I think that the Commanders, you saw how they played when they played the Giants recently. It was a close game. It was a tight game. This is another good defense coming in, a better defense, maybe one of the best defenses they're going to see all season. And Russ isn't going to make mistakes. He doesn't make mistakes. I think you're going to get a workman-like performance from Russell Wilson, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I know that the Commanders have the best per drive offense in the NFL in like the last 25 years. I think they average like 47 yards per drive on average, which is a ridiculous number. But I think they're going to look ordinary this week against the Steelers defense. And I think the Steelers are going to win 2014 or 2017.
I think this is going to be the best defense they've faced. I'm talking about Washington. And I do think it's going to be a close football game, but I think Russ is going to play a clean game. I don't think he's going to blow your socks off with 300 plus yards passing. But let's say he goes for like 225, a couple of touchdowns, and their running game is effective. I think their defense is going to get a couple of turnovers. I think the Steelers win.
The 6-2 Vikings head to the 2-7 Jaguars. It might be closer than we think. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I'm thinking like a 10-point victory here. But I'm going Vikings.
I don't know what to say about the Jaguars. I'm just going Vikings because I just think Jacksonville is I don't know what's going on top to bottom. There's some issues there. And say what you want.
Lost you there for a minute, partner. I got you, though. I got you.
Okay.
Tennessee Titans head to the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers should roll here. This should be a pretty simple game for them. Tennessee's got nothing going on.
Jim Harbaugh is playing what he wants to play. 3 yards in a cloud of dust football and offense, and the defense has been sound. I'm going with the Chargers as well.
And by the way, what a job Harbaugh has done. We didn't think they're going to be a bad team. I don't think we thought they're going to be this good.
I didn't.
The 6-2 Eagles head to the 3-5 Cowboys. Even though Nick Sirianni is still the head coach of the Eagles, they are going to win this game, and they are going to get to 7-2. And Mo, we talked about this a few months ago, and I think we're here. I think we're in a situation where this Eagles team is just so talented that they're winning games in spite of some of the decision-making by their head coach, who I think is an absolute clown, who I don't think is nuanced enough to be a head coach in this league. And he just happens to be blessed with a really good team around him. And unfortunately, I think it's going to take playoff failure to cost him his job, because I think they're going to be a good regular season team despite him week after week making decisions when it comes to scheme, or making decisions when it comes to clock management, or making decisions when it comes to play calling, where you're like, what the hell is Nick Sirianni doing? But they still find ways to win. So I think they're going to beat up the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to be 7-2. And there's probably going to be a couple of times in that game where you're like, why did Nick do that? But they're going to win by 20, so it's not going to matter.
I agree with you. It's funny because we just made this interesting transition about what Jim Harbaugh has done with the Chargers. I feel like Nick Sirianni thinks he's a version of Harbaugh, right?
He does.
You know what I mean? Like, he thinks he's a mad scientist, kind of kooky guy, but he's actually brilliant on the low. I think he feels like he's another version of Harbaugh, and I disagree. I think that some guys are coordinators and some guys are head coaches. I don't think Nick Sirianni is a leader of men. I don't think he's a head coach. I think he's a coordinator masking as a head coach. And I'm with you. The Eagles may very well finish with 13 wins, but if they lose their first playoff game, he's out.
Or if they lose their second playoff game because he made a bonehead decision where you're like, why are we doing that, Nick? I still think they fire him, because I think that's where we are with him. I think he just has a good team, and when he goes up against other really good coaches, he gets exposed time and time again.
No, I agree. I think, like you said, despite him, because of what they have, especially in the skill positions offensively, with Jalen Hurts, with Brown, with Smith, and now Saquon, and still one of the best offensive lines in football. It's not like he's Kyle Shanahan, or he's not Andy Reid. He's not scheming. The best thing he does is when he doesn't do anything.
I mean, if you look at who they lose to this year, they lost to the Bucks, they lost to the Falcons. Who has he beaten? He's beaten the Saints. They were a train wreck. He beat the Browns. They're a train wreck. Beat the Giants. They're a train wreck. The Bengals was a good win. The Jaguars are a train wreck. You could argue that the Packers was a good win to open the season. That was a good win. His best win is against the Packers. You could argue that all the other wins were against bad football teams and not great head coaches. And the only other two good football teams they played against, the Buccaneers and the Falcons, they lost to.
Right.
Now, I know you can only beat the teams on your schedule. I totally get that. I'm not trying to put the Eagles down here, but I'm just saying, as we look out at their upcoming schedule, I'm curious what happens against the Commanders, the Rams, the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Commanders again. Because that's what's on the back end of this schedule. Now, it got a lot easier with the Cowboys being a terrible team. So that made the back end of the schedule not as brutal as it was going to be. But that 5-game run right there, where you're not only going against good teams, you're going against some good head coaches as well. I'm curious what it looks like for him in those games.
I'm curious of what they're going to be projecting forward. Let's say they are in the playoffs. If they match up against the Packers, I think the Packers are the scarier team, right?
Correct. Yeah. The Jets and the Cardinals. I know Jets fans are super excited because they won last week, but you better not be overlooking the Arizona Cardinals. That's all I'm saying, Jets fans, because if you're overlooking the Arizona Cardinals, this game is in Arizona. If you are overlooking the Cardinals, you are going to walk out of this game saying the same thing that I was saying 2 weeks ago. Why can't we tackle Kyler effing Murray? and you're going to lose this game by a field goal or a touchdown, and you're going to be sitting there at 3-7, one loss away from the magic 8 of not making the playoffs, wondering what the hell happened against the Arizona Cardinals. And then the Cardinals are going to be sitting at 6-4, leading their division. I'm going Cardinals here.
It's a tough one because the Cardinals are hard to beat. And Kyler Murray's been playing terrific to me all season long. I think the Cardinals, man, that's a tough game to call.
Does it come down to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Sauce Gardner?
I think so. I think that will be the matchup. And it's no question that Harrison Jr. is gifted, but Sauce Gardner is one of the three.
He's elite.
He's one of three. So here's the thing. I think the Jets defense is going to play well. I don't know what the offense is going to do. I have no clue. What their offense is going to do. I think it's a close football game. I'm going to give the Jets the edge in a close game.
And then we have the 7-1 Lions going to the 6-3 Texans. Sunday Night Football. It should be a good game. But again, I just like the Lions so freaking much. I'm going Lions.
I hope I'm wrong. I don't think it's going to be that good a game. I think the Lions roll.
Really? Big?
I think they roll. Remember, the Texans are still without their two of their three best wide receivers.
Yep.
And they have a good run blocking offensive line, but pass blocking, they're one of the worst offensive line in football. CJ Stroud has been sacked over 30 times already this year. I think the Lions roll. This isn't a knock, but this one right here to me is one of the easiest games to call.
And those are the picks. The Dolphins and the Rams play Monday night in Los Angeles. The Dolphins have 6 losses, Mo. We're not at 8 losses yet. So until we get there, I am going to pick the Dolphins. Let me say this, though. The Dolphins, they lost by a field goal to the Cardinals in a game that the Cardinals never led until they kicked the field goal at the end. They lose by a field goal to the Bills on the road in a building they haven't won in 8 years. Tua and the offense are playing well. The defense is not necessarily a strength of the Rams. The offense is. I don't know if the Dolphins can stop the Rams offense, but I will say this about the Rams, and we saw this against the Seahawks last week. The Rams have these moments where Matthew Stafford is a little turnover prone. Matthew Stafford plays a little loose. And then they have these moments like in overtime where Matthew Stafford is absolutely flawless. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be who gets the football last. And unlike their previous 2 games, I think the Dolphins get the football last in this game. And they kick a field goal and win it at the end of regulation. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins by 3.
I think the Dolphins win a shootout. I think Tua and Tyreek Hill have big games. So I like the Dolphins in a shootout. I think it's going to be a fun game. Might be the best game of the week.
And they're inside. I like the Dolphins inside.
Just make that speed even that much faster. So yeah, I'm going with the Dolphins in a shootout.
All right, Mo, take us to the end, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out all the great content that we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
Guys, we are taking a 72-hour break. We are going to be back here Monday morning breaking down everything that happened during the NFL weekend. Make sure you are here for all of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network, and we'll see all of you